Be healthy.
John Cameron Quaid.
Chad Huntley. David Brainerd. John Chen. Tom Brokaw.
The lost squadron of Navy SEALs in the mountains of Afghanistan. One rescued. What about the fate of the others? Is Al-Qaeda making a comeback? Battle lines. As President Bush marks Independence Day, the new showdown over a Supreme Court nominee heats up. Direct hit. Spectacular fireworks 83 million miles away as a NASA spacecraft slams into a comet. What we could learn here on Earth from this new milestone in deep space. And miles per gallon. Sticker shock at the gas pump. What the world's largest package delivery company can teach us all about getting better gas mileage.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams. Substituting tonight, John Siegenthaler.
Good evening, everyone. On the 4th of July, with U.S. troops around the world in harm's way, there is an intensive search underway tonight in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan for 3 missing Special Ops Navy SEALs. On Saturday, one member of this Navy reconnaissance team was rescued. There was brief hope today that another sailor had been found, but so far, Pentagon officials say that's not true. NBC's Jim Miklaszewski joins us from the Pentagon tonight with the story. Jim?
John, despite conflicting reports out of Afghanistan today, 3 U.S. Navy SEALs are still publicly considered missing. The governor of Kunar province announced that a second SEALs, they wouldn't talk about it publicly because that would put the SEALs and their rescuers at risk, like those 16 American service members whose helicopter was shot down in the initial rescue mission last week. John.
Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon. Jim, thanks. In the past few weeks, U.S. forces in Afghanistan have faced a new wave of attacks from the Taliban. The latest violence raises questions about whether the Taliban, backed by Al-Qaeda, is making a comeback there. Here's NBC's Ron Allen.
In the mountains of Afghanistan, U.S. forces are facing some of the deadliest months since the invasion that drove the Taliban from power nearly 4 years ago. The Taliban has re-emerged, supported by Al-Qaeda, a force London.
In Iraq, some of the U.S. forces were able to celebrate this July 4th holiday, but for others, the daily grind of life in Iraq goes on. NBC's Richard Engel was recently embedded with the Marines of Kilo Company, part of Regimental Combat Team 2, on patrol in the dangerous Sunni Triangle northwest of Baghdad.
At home, they're plumbers, cops, salesmen, and students. Now, they're hunting the most dangerous part of Heat, the destroyed old center of the city. Marines believe insurgents may be using a network of tunnels they believe are under these ruins. They don't find any. NBC News, Heat, Iraq.
On Wednesday, leaders of the world's industrialized nations will meet in Scotland to talk about poverty in Africa and ways to deal with global warming. Today, though, hundreds of protesters fought with riot police in the streets of Edinburgh, some demanding that world leaders take urgent, more decisive action, and others trying to stop the so-called G8 summit altogether. Nearly 30 protesters were arrested. President Bush heads to Denmark tomorrow and then on to Scotland for Wednesday's summit. While he focuses on the G8, he is also facing an important decision here at home, choosing a nominee to replace Justice Sandra Day O'Connor on the U.S. Supreme Court. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell joins us tonight from the White House with that story. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, John. The president is packing extra homework for that trip. White House advisors say that staffers have been preparing files on potential Supreme Court nominees for the president to review aboard Air Force One.
With fireworks flying over his coming choice, this was a day for President Bush to simply wave the flag, marking the holiday in Morgantown, West Virginia.
And on Independence Day, we remember that we also have essential responsibilities here at home.
The president made no mention of the historic task before him, selecting a successor to Trump's early agreement against one potential choice, the possible nomination of Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, who visited Baghdad this weekend.
The American people are very much with you.
The right,
except to say that it won't happen before he returns from Europe next Friday. And because Mr. Bush has pledged to work with the Senate, that could extend it even further. John?
NBC's Kelly O'Donnell at the White House. Kelly, thank you. Now to the space mission that NASA officials are calling a smashing success. The intentional collision of a spacecraft with a comet early this morning that scientists hope will answer some important questions. NBC's Tom Costello reports.
The pictures are breathtaking. The final moment been around since the solar system was formed. The so-called building blocks of life that may have helped seed the Earth billions of years ago. The mothership that launched the impact
this 4th of July.
Talk.
I believe it is our duty to lead the world.
They talk to today.
I desperately needed help.
First.
You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do.
America's #1 morning show.
It's time for the president to get it right.
This is Today on NBC.
MSNBC has a smart, entertaining new...
NBC News in depth tonight. Gas prices. The next time you look at your gas bill and feel like you're over a barrel, you might want to consider some of the solutions of a company that relies on far more gasoline than any of us ever will. Here's NBC's Kerry Sanders in depth.
Annenberg with another busy day.
When you drive, you should take only right turns, because taking left turns often requires waiting at an intersection, which wastes time and gas.
Another time-honored UPS trick, even if it's a short stop, grab the keys.
It's very important anytime you stop the vehicle for more than, say, 60 seconds, you should turn the engine off. You actually save fuel by doing that.
What if Ann Berg had followed these tips? Her 40-mile trip, which took 2 hours, 7 minutes, by UPS calculations, would have been 27 miles and taken 52 minutes. Gas savings, $2.25 in just one morning. Less fuel, less time, a shorter drive, and saving money. Goals shared by everyone on today's roads.
Are you guys staying out of trouble?
Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Roswell, Georgia.
Up next, news. This 4th of July, one young American on a mission to clean up the mighty Mississippi.
It was the secret that brought down a president, and Bob Woodward knew the truth. Tom Brokaw reports The Secret Man. NBC Wednesday, 10/9 Central.
The fleecing of America. NBC Nightly News this week.
On this 4th of July, we bring you an American original, a man whose childhood led him to the shores of the mighty Mississippi. He's grown now and devoting his life to restoring Old Man River to its original pristine grandeur. As NBC's Mark Potter tells us, he's doing it one handful at a time.
In the land of Mark Twain, an odd flotilla on the Mississippi River, making free from the Mississippi and other rivers, including nearly 500 refrigerators and 14,000 tires. Also from the river, more than 100 TVs and one grand piano. Life on the Mississippi, Alton, Illinois.
When we come back, a celebration of freedom across America.
NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams, brought to you in part by Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Tonight in Scarborough Country.
A special series for your financial smarts. Simple steps that make sense for every stage of your life, because it's your money. This week on Today.
Finally tonight, it's not just about hot dogs and fireworks. The 4th of July is a kind of marker reflecting who we are as a nation and why, despite turmoil and war, we continue to celebrate. NBC's Raheem Ellis on Independence Day 2005.
For John Smathers, this day has special meaning.
My father imbued in me a great sense of patriotism.
It's one reason he joined the Army Reserves and served 14 months in Iraq.
When Dad served in World War II, that was his time to serve his country, and now it's my turn.
Captain Smathers is now recovering from his wounds, a shattered left arm and battered knees. He's the most decorated Army Reservist of the Iraq War, earning 7 medals, including 4 Bronze Stars and 2 Purple Hearts. Badges of courage for a man who honors freedom.
We come from a long tradition of people who have fought for that and died for that and are still fighting and are still dying for that.
Independence Day, he says, is a time to keep that in mind. From small towns to big cities all across the country, Americans today celebrating their rights and freedoms. From stuffing themselves with hot dogs on Coney Island.
There he is, the champion.
to the annual Peachtree Road Race in Atlanta. Americans observed this 4th of July, passing tradition to the young and sharing it with the new citizens. 15,000 taking the oath this week.
It's good to be an American.
In Washington, D.C., other servicemen wounded in Iraq reading from the Declaration of Independence.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
And back in New Jersey, Captain Smathers with just one wish.
That our country can be an example to other countries how Christians and Muslims and Jews can live together.
One man's notion of an American ideal worth celebrating. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, Haddonfield, New Jersey.
And that's NBC Nightly News for this July 4th. Brian Williams will be here tomorrow. I'm John Siegenthaler in New York, and we leave you tonight with a look at New York Harbor, where holiday fireworks will light up the sky just a little later tonight. Good night.
Nightly News is a presentation of NBC News. More Americans watch NBC News than any other news organization in the world.
Stand by, Brian.
Good morning. And then there were two. Will it be